All right, welcome. Let me just check to make sure we're actually live, and we'll get started. Actually, I guess I could just ask you guys in the chat. Are we good? Chat. It says we got 12 people. Okay, so it must be working. All right, sweet. Well, welcome everybody. I think this is going to be a very exciting week. Sweet. Awesome. Also, I should be hopefully on Rumble. If someone could check that out. It's Mind in Emotion 7 as my tag. But anyway, so there's actually a lot of different things that are all really exciting. And they all take quite a bit of context, but this one doesn't really. One thing I wish I would have listened to Richard. Oh, shoot, what's his last name? That talks about GameStop. He talks about the PMO and the weekly chart, and I didn't really think about that. And so something that's cool is if you look at actually, I can do this. Okay. So if you look at the weekly RSI is the top one, and so the PMO crossing, like it did the same thing where there was like, it would like do like a little fake out and then it would come back down and then it would cross again. And then we had the big run up, and then it did the same thing in just recently. We had a fake out, and then what do you know, it's about ready to cross again. So that was cool. But another thing that I found is that basically every time the RSI crosses the midline on the weekly chart, it always goes up, right? It always goes to at least $30, like $32 or $34, which if you're playing options is really, really cool to know, right? So here we had it cross the chart the first time, and then like it ran up big, and then the second time, this is no roaring kitty, nothing. And it still ran up to, what was this? This is like $34 or so. And it hit it twice, literally. Like you can see the RSI is like stays pretty high. And yeah, Richard Newton, there we go. Yeah. So, and then it goes up again. And what do you know? It hits like $35 once the RSI crosses the midline on the weekly. And so right now, actually, I guess I should pull up the regular chart, but the RSI has crossed the midline. So my guess is that this will play out the same way it has played out, which is it going to going up to 35. I mean, there was somewhat of a delay, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Hope that's not the case. I don't think that's gonna be the case because now we have the warrants, which is really exciting. So actually, speaking of this chart, oh man, okay, yeah. So you still see the lines that I had, right? I was definitely expecting the same sort of recovery that we saw here, because this was the bond. It dropped right here, boom, and then recovered. It recovered within 2 weeks. It recovered back to like 26 something, right? So I bet everything on that, and it didn't. Instead of it doing that, it got slammed down right here. And what was this? This was when XRT and GMEU went on reg show. So this should have come up here and retest this part. It should have hit like 32 and then come back down. But it didn't, which sucked. Yeah. So, I mean, we have a lawsuit. I mean, we have a case that we can make against all the people who did cheat because they kept on a reg show. It's only allowed to be on there for 13 days. They kept it on for like 30 days. So all the people that were share lending, like Equilend, Goldman Sachs, like they all are liable, and we should hold them accountable. I mean, I plan on it. So Yeah, so they commit that crime right there, and that held the price down. And I think that, I kept tagging Ryan Cohen and Larry Chang, and they didn't respond. And I think they didn't respond because they knew they had the answer for it, which was better, right? And it was what Ryan Cohen said. He says, just let the market sort things out. And how is that going to happen? Well, the dividend comes. And I think the biggest thing about the dividend that a lot of people might not realize is that, like, a lot of the short interest, a lot of the borrowed shares out there are literally in the Cayman Islands or somewhere in some other country, and they're just completely unreported. And so no, the broker wouldn't even know whether the person is margin called or not, because it's like they would have to like self-report saying, oh, I'm out of margin, right? And that's just not the case, right? And these are big people, right? This is people like Highbridge Capital, Point72, this George Soros fund, right? Like, these are huge players. And so their brokers are not like checking them to see if they have the margin. But once there's a dividend, especially since it's a variable dividend, which means like the price of it can change. All of a sudden they have to know whether they can deliver that. And so I think that basically on the day, because so a lot of people didn't get this about the warrant. The warrant is literally actually, I guess we could pull open Chart Exchange. Okay. Let's look at the option chain. Okay. 20 September. It's not showing. Oh, it is showing all. Okay. So essentially, here's the option chain for October 16th, 2026. Wow, max pain is 30. So, but you have to like look here. There's not that much volume at that strike, but that's still interesting that the max pain is 30. So why? Let's see. Why does? Okay. Wow. I should have already looked at this. This is live DVD right here. Okay. So why the crap is there all these 32s on here? Let's see. How many are out there? 4,500. Okay. I mean, I don't know when they got there. Did any of you degens buy them? I hope not, because that'd be, I don't know. Options wise, it's not the right one. It's what Ryan Cohen's giving us, but like it's good for him to give us that one, but that's not the one that you should buy. Yes, Robinhood will all the American exchanges. If you live in America and you're using American exchange, you'll get a warrant and it'll be tradable. I'm pretty sure on any exchange. I know for sure Robinhood will. So basically, what they can, let's say you're short GameStop, you can buy a $32 strike price. You could buy this one right here. Right here it says it's $4, $3.95. So you could buy this one and give that as your dividend, right? You could, I'm sure you could exchange that. You could buy that now and exchange that with your broker instead of the warrant, because it's going to be the exact same thing. So also the value of the warrant is going to be the exact same thing. And here's something, and since the people here now are just my homies, right? So when there's a lot of reasons why Larry Chang probably said don't invest any money if you get a big windfall for a year. I think part of what he was saying, besides the fact that there's supposed to be a bear market starting in 2026, but don't exercise your warrants, right? Okay, because GameStop isn't going to get that money for till they expire. Like what happens is they expire and then they get exercised, and then that money goes to GameStop. So if you exercise at day one, all you're doing is wasting time premium, which is theta. And these ones have a lot of time premium. So let's say that you wanted to, you just have to like essentially exercise it. It would be better just to buy a share of GameStop and just hold on to the warrant rather than exercise the warrant. Or you could just sell the warrant, right? I mean, it has like a kind of a nostalgic value, and some people are really into that. I talked to someone on the phone for quite a while and explained to them that it was essentially just a call option and should be treated that way, right? So, I mean, you're not, the only thing negative it could do is it will put a little bit of, you know, like it will decrease the gamma ramp a little bit if everyone sells their $32 strike prices right away. But I don't think that's gonna be a problem. You know, for one, I think that the price is going to be higher, and so if people sold those, even if it pull back, they most likely would just buy back in. Because it would be better to sell your warrant and then just buy shares because you keep that time premium. Yeah, that would just be better if that's what you're into. If you're even cooler, right, you might like, you know, sell it and then sell a cash secure put or something, but and then buy. Anyway, you could do a lot of things. Just don't exercise it right away. That's definitely not the right answer. I mean, the only time you really exercise a call option, in my opinion, is like if you're, so when I buy a call option, I'm like looking at a specific catalyst, and then I usually give it another extra couple weeks. But you lose all that time premium on the last day. And so like, let's say that it's really close to, actually, I don't know. I just can't think of a reason really to exercise call options, to be honest. I mean, I guess like maybe, you know, if you were going to exercise call options, the only case I can see is you buy like deep in the money, so you're not paying a lot of premium, because the deeper into the money the less, you know, premium that's on there. So if you wanted to just reserve a price that you were going to buy a bunch of shares at, you know, that makes sense. But anyway, what I mean is that these shorts are going to have to, let's say that they can't close because they don't really have the money and they don't really want to sell everything. They could just go on the market and buy these. And right now they're $3.95 each. And since it's the 10-to-1, I mean, for the shorts, it's not actually that many to buy, but I do think there's a lot of hedge funds out there, especially the overseas accounts, that just don't have the margin. And so they might be like, yeah, I can't actually buy those. And so they're going to get margin called. And that's going to be cool. So I think that for the first time, we are going to see true price discovery, which is awesome. I think that some shorts will buy these, and it will help build the gamma ramp. And we'll see how short people really are. I mean, we've never known how short people are on GameStop. I mean, one clue is just what's the short interest of XRT, right? Let's see if this is an accurate one. Yeah. Okay. So the short interest of XRT right here, 500%. Okay. That's crazy. Okay. So it was at 1300% a little while ago, which I guess I can go back to share this one instead, right? Because I did do those calculations, right? So when I calculated it earlier this week, it was like 450%, and that's reported. Not everyone even reports their short interest, and that comes out to be, if you look at how many shares they're supposed to have in their fund, like, and how many they're lent out, it's almost 1 million shares they've lent out, right? So that's pretty cool. So that means 1 million shares. There's like 100,000 call options that we'll have to hit. Yeah, anyway, so I think that we are going to see that price discovery. And I think a lot of shorts, like especially, so there's two things. One, I mean, we could see Roaring Kitty or something, or some kind of catalyst that starts making the price go up. And at a certain price, like the value of those call options will go up, right? Which means like the theoretical cost of the warrants goes up. And I think that by Thursday, which is the last day to buy shares in order to get the warrants, I think people are going to want to just close their short position because they're going to know that it's just up from here, right? Like there's no way back, and they might as well just end it, right? So, yeah. So there's that, but also, oh, the price target change, right? So let's see. That is something that's very exciting, especially since it was something that I was working on pretty hard, right? I mean, this is where we're at right now, right? Like, does anyone see what the problem with this is? The current price, 26.42, and it says the high, the median, and the low are all 13.50, right? And that affects the algos, right? Since there's no range, right? It has to say, okay, well, where in the range is it? So it's been pointed straight at 13.50, no matter what happens, and that's difficult, right? So, so finally, they withdrew, right? Analyst Alicia Reese, which I totally like, showed all her conflicts of interest, which was awesome. We are dropping coverage on GameStop due to reallocation of analyst resources going forward. Our rating underperformed target price 13.50, and estimates should not be relied upon, right? Bush is dropping coverage of GameStop shares, leaving the retailer without a Wall Street rating as it continues to defy traditional analysis, right? Is like it has a weird amount of cash, which is a lot, and it has Bitcoin, right? And so it's just really hard to evaluate. It really doesn't work with their algos, and I think Ryan Cohen knew that, and they intentionally did that. They intentionally did bonds that technically make it look like it has tons of debt, so that it could be a bigger bear trap. Because you have the old shorts and the new shorts. And the old shorts have the benefit of they're pretty much invisible. Like no one even knows where they are, right? This was before the CAT system. Like they're hiding somewhere, some foreign account. No one even knows where they are, right? And the new shorts, though, they're with the CAT system, so they're going to be the ignition, the lighter fuel for this rocket, and because they can get margin called, and then that's when people, brokers are going to start asking questions to these like invisible ones, like, hey, like you gotta close your position. So that's awesome, and it all goes to the RICO, which I will have to get into, of why would they withdraw on a Sunday their price target, right? Isn't that kind of weird? But the reason is the Clintons just got subpoenaed, right? And so this is Michael Patcher, total freaking shill, right? So here's one of his posts. He says, Bill Clinton, genuine AF, and made me feel like I was the most important person he ever met. I wonder why, right? So he worked for Arco, right? Which, I mean, I guess we could go into the long history of that, but I mean, there's a lot of corruption there. So what he said in another one that he was basically, what was he, a lobbyist? He was a Democrat lobbyist, right? And so he likes the Clintons, and they looked at him as the most important person, right? Why? Because they were all shorting GameStop, right? And he's the only price target out there, and so he's helping them all make all this tax-free money, because if they still have these shorts open, these 5-year-old shorts, or who knows, it might even be older than that. It might be 7, 8 years old, these short positions. that they're not paying taxes on, then, you know, all that money kind of, and then they go from like not having to pay taxes and having all this money to getting margin called and it all going away, right? So that was the reason why, even though I started posting and I'm like, hey, like these things this doesn't add up. Like your price target is completely just, where is it even coming from? It's like literally the cash per share was 16.21 and they put a price target at 13. It's like literally just the cash is worth 16.21. So that if you were going to be a total douche and say it's only worth the cash it has, you would say the price target would be 621 or 16.21. But instead they say, oh, it's 13.50. It's just completely fraudulent, right? So that's changing, right? And now there's not going to be a price target, and so the algos aren't going to have that to base it on. And who knows? Maybe tomorrow we might see someone fill that void and do a price target, and they could say, hey, the price target's like 120. There was a hedge fund that said that, and all of a sudden now the algos are pointing it towards that, and I think that's the case. Hey, everyone in the chat, by the way, I really appreciate everyone. I wasn't sure if I was going to stream, but I don't know. There were just enough people that reshared the post and whatnot. I was like, okay, you know, might as well. So it's like 24 people on YouTube. Nice. You're the real ones. Screw everyone else. Let's see. Oh yeah. So this is, I guess we could just watch it.
Chairman, breaking news. House Oversight Chairman James Comer has just issued subpoenas in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Chairman Comer sent one subpoena to the Department of Justice for the complete Epstein files and more for depositions from former officials. Those officials include former attorneys general Bill Barr.
So that's a lot of people. So it's so funny that, like, I mean, I really don't know about Trump. There's like, I mean, it could go either way, right? But I mean, it just seems like a bear trap every step of the way. And it's awesome because he's like, oh, the Epstein's a hoax, and he makes everyone just beg for the Epstein, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll arrest everyone to do with Epstein. You know, there's like a Donald Trumpo. That account usually seems to be saying what's really going on, and you know, it's like perfect. I got everyone talking about Epstein. Because these are the people that are really going to get in a lot of trouble. And there's more people that aren't on this list that I think, you know, will end up being on this list. I think politically, these are, you know, important ones, but I think that there's a lot of hedge fund people that are definitely going to get in trouble. And I mean, it really, like, I can't even express how many, I probably should, I mean, should we just go to, let's see. I know most people voted for Bed Bath, but the thing is this literally all goes together. Like, people really, like, it seems like they think I'm just like doing this just I don't know, just to make fun of Doug Sifu or whatever, because he was connected to Epstein. But really, this is the center of, it's called the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. So what is this? This was going to be like a global shakedown under the guise of ESG and DEI, right? And so they went to the Pope, and I mean, that's Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the Pope, right? And then you have the Soros, that's Alex Soros and Bill Clinton, some random dude, probably shill. Whoa. What the? It's not, hold up. Okay, we're back. Sorry. You have all these people connected to it, like Mark Carney, right? Inclusive capitalism. He was really central in it. You have Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Larry Page is still missing, right? Ever since he was subpoenaed for the Epstein, stuff, he's still missing. That's crazy, right? Like Google it. Like CEO of Google, where is he? Still missing. That I don't know why that's not like super weird to people. Oh, and what do you know? You got Jamie Dimon, right? Part of inclusive capitalism. Okay. It's like who screwed us in Bed Bath and Beyond? That was mainly Jamie Dimon, right? And then here you have, I did not know this, but man, Michael Milken, like that guy was really, apparently he was the most powerful financier in like the 80s. And it all had to do with junk bonds, which was just, anyway, I guess go into that. But the best way to launder money was with junk bonds. So they were the main ones doing the inclusive capitalism because they're managing a lot of money. And one person that actually I just found out, I just searched today, is when I looked up even Ken Griffin, who's supposedly conservative, he's closely related to the Milken Institute and apparently talked, it's behind a paywall, so I didn't watch it, but apparently was talking about inclusive capitalism with Michael Milken. This is also where you get, Leon Black, right? Who else? This guy is super important, Glenn Dubin, right? The Robin Hood Foundation, 2 words, not one, right? He also came from, let's see, wait. So Highbridge Capital, a big portion of it's owned by JP Morgan, right? And that's how they would do both sides of the trades. They're like, okay, well, we'll do this, the share buybacks, but we're not going to do them. And so Highbridge Capital will short it, and then we'll, tank it, right? So that's why it's like a total RICO, is right. You got this guy and JP Morgan working together because they could, I mean, who knows? It's like, I mean, just 12 billion from just like counterfeiting the share buybacks. That like was still $12 billion. And that's like, and then you add on top of it, if he bought a bunch of puts or shorted it, right? Like they could have made a ton of money, right? And his company, Highbridge Capital, is still short GameStop. Okay. Who else? David's, oh, this is one I just found, was CEO of Goldman Sachs, right? So who's doing all the stock lending and just infinite stock lending for GameStop and Bed Bath and Beyond stuff? Well, it's Goldman Sachs. And what do you know? That the CEO's brother is in the Epstein Black Book, right? He's on Council of Foreign Relations, and not to get super like conspiratorial, but he just happened to be the interviewer for the Columbine shooter and like the Sandy Hook shooting. So not going to touch on that, but that's like, he's with the New York Times, right? Also the Human Rights Campaign, right? So he's a member of the board of directors for the Human Rights Campaign. And I guess we could go into that, but the Human Rights Campaign, came out of the Human Rights Watch, which was what started the Arab Spring. It's what paid for and started the Arab Spring. It was financed by George Soros, right? In 2010, he gave them $100 million, right? And then what do you know? In 2012, 2011, 2012, the Arab Spring broke out, which was a revolt, all the college students, right? So anyway, wow. There's a lot here. I don't know if that might be good for now, actually, to yeah. Anyway, lots of weird stuff, man. Our world was set up pretty freaking weird. So, all right, let's see. Which screen are we gonna do? Go back to this one. Okay. Yeah. So that's why, like, so in this whole scheme, right? So you have all these people surrounded with inclusive capitalism, right? And they're all doing like evading taxes by doing short selling, right? And they're all connected with things like Mediterranean shipping companies. So they have the ability to take down companies. And Bed Bath and Beyond, you know, I mean, it could have gone in different directions, right? Like they were selling My Pillow, like the Michael, whatever, the conservative guy. Anyway, like the direction they were going was, it's like, we're going to suck out all the ESG money and then make money shorting it into the ground. And then someone would buy it for pennies on the dollar, right? So let's see. All right. Oh yeah. So here's something really cool that I just realized. So, well, I was kind of thinking it, like, I hate bringing up like Marcus Lemonis. I mean, he could totally be an actor. I have no idea. Like, I don't even care, because like, if he's trying to make it seem like trying to hide his true intentions by being a douche and making us all hate him, like, then I might as well like play into what he's trying to convince us to do, or he's just being a douche and we should hate him. So either way, you know, I a resistance to it. But something I just realized was, now that shares are trading of Bed Bath and Beyond, and the warrants are trading, or are going to start trading, it really would be pretty easy to give those warrants to old shareholders, right? And because, you know, since it's a publicly traded company, they can't like say things that would materially change. Like, they can't talk about things that are material change to the company that would change how investors would invest in it, right? So if Marcus Lemonis says, "Hey, yeah, we're going to give old shareholders warrants," well, one, that would mean that the bonds that are trading would instantly, people would be buying them up, right? It also would mean that, I mean, all these warrants would, these new warrants would raise more money for the company. So then maybe the share price of BBBY would go up. I don't know. I mean, there's, I mean, it just does seem like it would also scare all the hedgies that like are short, you know, potentially cause like bank contagion, right? People would start looking, okay, well, which banks were involved in this? Like, and so they couldn't say it. But if the waterfall happens and then they say, okay, well, all the money did actually come through, theoretically they could say, okay, well, let's give some BBBY warrants, you know, maybe the same one as these $15 warrants, to old shareholders. I mean, it wouldn't at all hurt Overstock, right? They'd raise more money. I mean, it's a little bit more of a dilution, but the ability to raise more money is great. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of like, it kind of clicked recently that I'm like, there is a chance that we could, if once the waterfall happens, that we could be offered warrants from the new Bed Bath and Beyond. I'm not holding my breath for it. I think that what is more important is that excuse me, that the old shares, right? So when so there's there was two companies that entered bankruptcy separately. One was Bed Bath and Beyond, and one was Bye Bye Baby, right? And I think that the lawsuit against J.P. Morgan was done on behalf of Bye Bye Baby, and so they were the reorganized debtor. They had a separate plan, which was confirmed and done on September 14th. Then DK Butterfly, it was confirmed. That plan was confirmed on September 29th, which is tomorrow. Wow, that's actually really cool. So they could have, like, whoever is behind Bye Bye Baby could have private shares, and we wouldn't know, right? Hertz had over-the-counter shares that were trading that people could buy, HTZZ, and it was 4 months later that they started trading on the regular stock exchange again, right? So going from the old stock exchange to the new one, plus there was something in the plan saying that basically it could be relisted whenever it wanted. And so, yeah, I think that there could be private shares. Also, where those private shares came from could have been when the debt default was cured in the Canadian bankruptcy, which was before the US bankruptcy. It says that debt is turned into shares. I don't know, it's just part of like Canadian bankruptcy law or whatever. And so those shares could have, for the reorganized debtor, could have started, because they could say, hey, we'll cure the debt, but we want first dibs on Baby, right? And so then those shares could have been created at that point in Canada, right? So they could be trading on like Canadian over the counter or something, right? And so then we get warrants on those ones, right? So yeah, there's like a lot of ways it could happen, but this is definitely, I think, the new template, right? Because Hertz was one of the first to do this, and it was very lucrative for them. They ended up having like a lot of money left over, and also with the warrants, they could raise more money, right? And they even had net operating losses, right? 5.9 billion of carry forwards, right? And since they preserved the old shareholders, they got to keep the nulls, right? So I think that this is the model, and I think that like that's what's happening with Rite Aid as well, right? Like Rite Aid, why wouldn't they offer warrants to old shareholders, right? Because those would turn into money for the company, right? So I think similarly, just like the payout, this was the payout. They got $1.53 per share cash. They got, for every one share, they got like a tenth of a share, and then they got a 60% of a warrant, right? Which ended up being 18% of the reorganized company was the warrants, and 3% of the new shares, and then I don't know, a decent amount of cash, right? So I mean, just the cash would have been a good deal. I mean, it was trading under $1, so I mean, you already more than doubled up just with the cash. And yeah, so I think that's the model. Also, Apollo Global Management was the one that came in to do this, and I think that they might be doing the same thing. I think that Apollo went from being bad, run by Leon Black and the other guy, to now it's under better management. I think it got cleared out with the whole RICO that's going on, and we don't see really what happens to people. They just kind of disappear, right? Like Doug Sifu. Where's Doug Sifu, right? Which leads to the next question. Well, I'm glad I remember that. Is where are the bodies, right? Let's see. Might as well share this. Let's see. Where was I? Oh yeah, where are the bodies? So I did a post. Kind of posted a lot today because a lot was happening. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. Here, I think this one was it. Yeah. So this is super cool. This is super exciting. And like I theorized it because I remember I was in an MMTLP space and I'm like, guys, like it's not a matter of just getting your blue sheets, okay? Because like it's one, it wouldn't be fair to America, to our brokers, if they coughed up their blue sheets when like all their blue sheets, because it's like they would all be over maybe, but they shouldn't pay the full crime because most of the crime was happening overseas. And even if the brokers, they're not even really the ones that are supposed to be held responsible, because the people, they have liabilities. Like, so the person that was shorting it, borrowing the share or whatever, or selling it short, they're probably in another country, right? So the brokers are like, yes, I know I don't have enough shares, right, to like close, to pay everyone, but all the people that owe me money are in these other countries and they don't want to pay, right? So it just becomes this like international kind of mess. And so who would be the major short sellers, right? Well, Credit Suisse seemed to be on the top, Credit Suisse and UBS. And then UBS bought Credit Suisse. And so one of the main things that was probably doing a lot of shady stuff was this portion of their business called O'Connor. And you can actually look into O'Connor. It actually has a pretty old history. And so it was interesting because I just typed in like O'Connor and then I was like Citadel. Let's just see like if it pops up. And sure enough, their global head of client and partner, their global head of the client and partner group, right, literally got his start at O'Connor in Chicago, right? And they started off as a clearinghouse for options, an option clearinghouse. So I guess it kind of evolved into the CBOE. And then they ended up selling it to, selling portion of their business to Barclays, and then like another portion to Euronext or whatever, which is like the oldest stock market. I mean, this is where, that's why the corruption is so old, is like this, the European stock market in Amsterdam was started in like 741 years ago, right? Which is just actually kind of funny that it's like 741 right there. So this guy, of course, he's starts at this O'Connor, right? Which Howard Lutnick, who's Trump's Treasury Secretary, he owns and runs Cantor Fitzgerald, right? So they just bought it back in May, right? So now they would know where all the shares are, which is awesome, and UBS is like, like Lance was saying, they are the crime head. I've gone into that before. If I just type in UBS, yeah, it comes up just because I haven't seen anything in the news yet. Well, no, I mean, this is something I hope pops up. Like if this guy's name pops up, it comes into Trump's mouth, we know we definitely freaking won. I think we won either way, but like this guy, in my opinion, is running like the world cartel, Roderick von Lipsy. And of course, he was in the military with Colin Powell, and then he just goes from being in the military to be vice president of Goldman Sachs. That's kind of weird. And then, and then now he's high up in UBS. But anyway, yeah, they are the head of the cartel is UBS. I mean, they're the ones who won World War II. It wasn't a country that won World War II. It was UBS. All right. So now they know where all the shares are, because UBS would have them, and then UBS could, like, they have other people's assets. So it's like, okay, well, we're going to freeze your assets if you don't pay up. And so it's like the perfect way to actually make these foreign actors pay up without like literally like sending warships over there, because it would get dicey. I mean, it's an existential threat to a lot of people. Like, I mean, some banks like over in Europe are really short, like impossibly short, you know, GameStop, Bed Bath, DJT, all those stocks, right? MMTLP. So, you know, they have to make everyone pay what they owe, not just the small percentage of that which is in the United States. And so I think that's the reason for the halt. But like this was, in my opinion, the key right here. So yeah, let's see. So it was just so crazy then to see him at Citadel, right? So I just really think like where where these counterfeit shares would be, like between Citadel, this guy, and this O'Connor, you know, it's definitely, you know, in my opinion, where the shares are. So this guy also, of course, is an Aspen Institute Society fellow, Society Fellows. Let's see what else. There's another guy that works there, Justin something. He works at 0.72, right? So 0.72 is Melvin Capital's guy. Shoot, what's that one shill's name? Gabe Plotkin, right? So this guy at Citadel, he's spent over a decade at 0.72, which isn't, I mean, it's also owned by Gabe Plotkin. So it's not Melvin Capital, but I mean, it's literally 0.72 is like a network that connects all these hedge funds. I just realized why it's probably called 0.72. That's creepy. So this Justin guy works there and at Citadel, and then also at Bear Stearns, right? Which is where Epstein got his start. And let's see. Oh, he also serves on the leadership council for Robin Hood Foundation, right? Which is basically the radical left vehicle for George Soros, right? Because Open Society pledged 50 million to Robin Hood Foundation. That was like at the beginning of the Robin Hood Foundation. So it's not like 50 million today. It's like 50 million like in like the 70s when it got started. So sorry. Let's see. Also, if you just look up what O'Connor does, you know, it does long and short, right? But it's also like bespoke lending agreements. Like that's the one word, you know, someone's a criminal if they use the word bespoke. You know, the first time I heard that word was Sam Bankman-Fried, right? He's like, oh, bespoke. And I'm like, what's bespoke, right? I look it up and I'm like, oh, it means like a secret agreement, right? So yeah. And it's just a bespoke like lending solutions, right? So it's like, oh, we have a secret agreement to swap, or I don't know. There's a lot of ways that could go really, really weird. I could get into that, but let me just guess really quick. Like every time I've been looking up this, you know, the whole Epstein empire, what kept coming up was the Legion of Honor. And like that was interesting, right? And then I realized, so when you look at who the shareholders are, so this Amsterdam, the Euronext exchange was literally started in like Knights of the Round Table era, right? So this idea of these honor, you know, like the Royal Honor Society type things, right, was started in this time. So you're like a knight, you get a portion of, you know, you get a seat at the table, at the round table, right? So basically whoever has this, you know, the Legion of Honor has a seat at the French table, right? And so you see people like Peter Mandelson, this guy, right? So he's the Right Honorable. So Anyway, so he has the Legion of Honor. He's also on the Epstein list. He was made just in like February. He was made the ambassador to the United States for the UK, and then just on September 10th, right? He got in trouble because they found out, oh, he actually has more Epstein connections than they thought. So why was it that they suddenly found out that this guy that's been working with Epstein forever, like, has more connections? Like, what came out on September 10th that suddenly implicated more people? Like, now all of a sudden we're seeing all these people. We just saw like the Clintons and all these, James Comey, all these people being, indicted due, like, in connection with Epstein. And so something got like unsealed, like by like September 10th or so. And part of that was this guy, and he was working for Keir Starmer. So there's no way that Keir Starmer didn't know, right? Same reason Keir Starmer, like, I mean, he knew what Jimmy Savile was doing, and he was still, I mean, Jimmy Savile, if anyone is not a conspiracy theorist, you want to just like you have to look that up, right? Like, it's just even just the facts of what happened. It's absolutely insane. I can't even say the words like of what he did to children, because YouTube would take it down. Like, it's horrible stuff. I mean, he killed people, right? A lot of people, and abused a lot of people. So yeah, Jimmy Savile. If you don't know, man, that's a dark part of history. So what banks did Jeffrey Epstein use? He used J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank. So this is Deutsche Bank talking about blockchain, right? And they Project Dama is their thing, and part of that is tokenized shares, right? And so this is when, like, they were allowed for the public, but it started trading all the way back in like 2019 or 2018, right? Was when a lot of this stuff started. So they were using it already, but it became a public thing after that. So yeah, like this whole empire is crumbling. And oh, this guy. So if you made a list of the people that there's the most evidence that they did bad stuff, right? Like, literally, there's a Jess Daly guy. Like, there's a letter that they have that he wrote to Jeffrey Epstein while he was in the hot tub with, I think, an underage girl, on Jeffrey Epstein's island. And he says, oh, hey, thanks for, name, like, whatever her, like, Disney princess name is. And then, Jeffrey Epstein's like, oh, like, who do you want next? Right? Like Cinderella or something, right? Like, so he's like ordering girls from like a catalog, and they're likely underage. And so he was the go-between for JP Morgan and Highbridge Capital, right? Who is short GameStop. Well, we know, I mean, they're currently even still short GameStop, right? So that's something you can just straight up look up. And so it just shows this connection. And it says that, for example, during his tenure, JP Morgan Chase Asset Management's client assets expanded from 600 billion to 1.3 trillion, right? So he made super good returns because he was committing crimes. Like, this is all fraud stuff, right? So this is all coming out, and that part of that justice is us getting paid, right? And that's why this is all taken so long, is because, like, they have to make sure that they get as many people that were part of the crime as possible, and make sure that the evidence that they have is solid before they launch this, because they can't afford to lose these cases. And another reason it's taking so long is, like, even if the evidence is solid, if the judges are really terrible, right, then then the case just won't go through, right? So they have to get rid of all the corrupt judges, and also the media, right, can mess with things. So they have to get rid of like the corruption in the media, because I mean, all of us, it's interesting how like most people think that the media lies just in certain areas, right? You know, like talking to my dad, it's like, oh, so you think that the like CNBC lies about everything except for the like what the value of GameStop. It's like, yeah, they're lying about everything except for that. Like, no, everything they say is a lie. Right? Like it's all part of a narrative, right? Like, so they have to, before they had the media, they also had, you know, these gangs, right? Trendalagua and whatnot, that could literally, I mean, start riots, kill people. Actually, I was going to look this up. I probably should just look up right now. How many German politicians? I guess I can just. Plus. All right, let's see what Grok says. Someone told me this, and I'm like, I was gonna look into it to confirm it, because I'm like, that's too crazy. Okay, saying there's none. Oh no, right there. 16 local election candidates died in North Rhine, right? Ahead of municipal polls. 7 were from the far right party. Right? That, I mean, this is Germany, right? Like if we're saying like who are the most first world countries, I don't know. I mean, there's the US, Japan, and Germany. Like, I mean, that'd probably be the top 3, I think, right? So we're having like 16 candidates just in 2025 that got murdered, right? That's crazy. Like that's terrifying, really. And so they had to make sure that they fix the crime before they really start putting the pressure on, because like how many people would it take to kill enough people to stop the MAGA movement? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they killed a specific 16 people, it would definitely take a lot of the wind out of the sails, right? Like it would take people a while to regroup, and people would be scared, right? So that's literally the situation in Germany right now. So, you know, prayers going to Germany. Stay safe. We should be more vocal about things like this. I'm going to do a post. If I do it, please reshare it, because like it really helps. The algos don't really like me, and we have the ability to put some pressure on people and make changes. We just have to help each other get our voice out there. So anyway, that's really sad. There was 3,000 attacks on elected officials. What the heck is going on? Wow. Yeah. So anyway, we definitely. So all this had to happen in order is why this took so long, right? And now they're cracking down, right? So where is the heart of the problem? Well, it's in Chicago, And so right now they're doing, let's see, ICE just went to Chicago. Yeah. I mean, think about how crazy that is. Like, how crazy would you have to be to riot at an ICE facility? I mean, like, yeah. So this stuff has to be sorted out, and obviously, like, I'm keeping both eyes wide open to. So we have to go to a safer society. I don't want to go to a surveillance state, right? That's not what I want to do. So we have to make sure that we don't swing all the other direction and allow this to happen. But we do need to get out all the criminals, because there are some crazy people that should not be on the streets, right? Someone in the chat, I'm your boogeyman. How many Mexican candidates were murdered in the last election cycle? A lot. Yeah. No, I mean, sadly, I mean, it's scary, right? It's what's scary is that Germany is at that status. Because I speak fluent Spanish. I've lived in Mexico, actually, and I mean, yeah, like when you run for office, you pick one of two cartels that you think is going to protect you, and yeah, the other one's probably just going to kill you. So it's just like this game of kind of like when you're playing paintball and you play president or whatever, and you have one person that doesn't even have a gun, and you have to try and run them across the field or whatever. Like that's what it is in Mexico. It's like you just try to stay alive, and one cartel is protecting you, and then the other one just keeps trying to kill you, right? Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in. Like I don't even know. I don't want to get lost in like the politics. I don't know. I mean, most people did want to hear about Bed Bath, from the poll, but yeah, things in the world need to change, because the problem in Mexico, and I feel bad, it's like literally the United States' fault, right? Like we were running drugs through Mexico, and that's just messed up, right? Like we were working with the cartels. I mean, even Nexium, right? Nexium. It's like this stuff, like I feel like almost crazy like talking about this, because it's like, okay, like how would oh, I spelled Nexium wrong. Like how would it be this crazy? Like there's no way it's this crazy. It's like it is definitely this crazy. Here we go, right? Son of former Mexican president is co-conspirator of New York sex cult guru, prosecutor says, right? Okay, this isn't like just some random person, right? This is literally the son of the Mexican president. And I remember the article I was actually looking for was like his daughter was part of it. So that means that they were both part of it. Emiliano Salinas, right? Yeah. Sex called Keith Raniere, right? Like the fact that so much, like yeah, it's absolutely nuts, right? So that's like been the problem for me, is like I've been finding stuff so fast, I don't even really know where to start to explain how crazy it is, right? Like going back, yeah, switch back to this window. So the main thing I found is kind of like they have this, like they're creating a narrative, right? And so I didn't actually. So when I started, I started here at the Arab Spring, and then when I saw the same players were involved in Black Lives Matter, I was like, well, that's interesting, right? Um, and like then I was like, oh, well, then there was like the 2014 coup in Ukraine, right? And this was like something I was like really mad at Vladimir Putin for his interview with Tucker Carlson, because I thought it was just so terrible. I'm like, bro, if he would have just explained, hey, there was a coup, like a small group of people, a small group of people, dang it, did a coup in Ukraine, right? Sponsored by George Soros and headed up by people like Joe Biden, right? They did a coup, and then they just started like killing. They were literally bombing and killing everyone in the Donbass that was like Russian speaker, right? So like this has been a huge problem since 2014. The fact that he like waited this long is crazy to me. I don't know. The rest of the world is really crazy, but so then you had that, which was George Soros, right? Same group making this happen, that made this happen, that also made this happen. And guess what? The Arab Spring. So, oh yeah, here it is, right here. Sarah Bronfman's husband, right, Basil, set to stage bloody slaughter in Libya against American interests, right? Anyway, so he tried to do a coup in Libya, right? That's crazy, right? So this is Sarah Bronfman, right? She was like one of the top people in this, like the Nexium sex cult thing, right? And here she is with Richard Branson, and so it's all around this humanist movement. Is if you actually like, it's this secular humanist movement is the main kind of, I guess, problem. And here, I guess this is when she was younger. This is her with the Dalai Lama's like right hand man, right? So that like, also I don't want to burst in as well. The Dalai Lama is like way high up in the drug trafficking sort of world, right? So anyway, so there's the Bronfmans are literally were part of the Arab Spring. It's like, I mean, he tried it. His part failed, right? Because he wasn't even really like, he was like has Libyan heritage, but didn't even like grow up there or anything. So when I looked at this, and then I was like, oh yeah, well, the Paris Agreement, right? This is when the ESG thing started cracking down. What do you know? It's all the same players. And then it's like, it just, the same players and the same goal was with COVID-19, right? Because you could shut down all the companies, but then you could give preferential treatment to your companies that are ESG and friendly or whatever. And this is where they could take out GameStop and take out Bed Bath and Beyond, and then just keep Amazon and their people, right? And then even Amazon, right? Like he has a news agency, right? Jeff Bezos does, that's connected to literally the weapons trafficking, like military weapons, like, I mean, literally trafficking like nuclear weapons type of thing in the Middle East, right? So that was the crime family, the Jeff Bezos. He had one of the, Jamal Khashoggi working for him, right? And like he gave Jamal Khashoggi like $100 million or something. It's just all so connected that it's like, it sounds insane, but it really is. Like, you can just look it up, right? Like, it just takes a while to sort through it, right? So then once I started looking through that lens, it was like, okay, well, there was the Occupy Wall Street movement, right? So what really came out of the Occupy Wall Street? They obviously didn't get rid of like naked short selling. So what happened, right? it just brought in a bunch of ESG and DEI stuff, right? So like, oh, that's why people are protesting, is they want diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they want to like waste shareholder money on buying carbon credits so we can send that money to the politicians, right? Like it was just, and then even the Me Too movement, right? Like it's like when you look at who all started it. I mean, the main person was shoot, what's her name? Anyway, that chick, forgot her name because I don't care about stars, but what do you know? She's a model for Estee Lauder, and so is this girl. You know, so the three people, two of them are like spokespeople for Estee Lauder, and then one of the Me Too movement is literally the first mainstream porn star, right? Uma Thurman, right? She started in this movie, which was the first NC-17 rated movie, right? And this was the only tame picture I could find about that movie, right? It's and what do you know? There's Kevin Spacey and Steven Spielberg. So Kevin Spacey's, you know, was always seen with Jeffrey Epstein, and then you have Steven Spielberg, who's part of the mega group with Epstein, right? And he's doing campaign stuff with John Kerry and Hillary Clinton, right? It just like all keeps coming back, and it's like it's insane, right? So well, anyway, like she's on the board of the Tibet House, right? Cory Broker. Anyway, Marina Abramovich. Like, if you don't know who that is, like, she's like the head witch of like the world, right? Doing spirit cooking, having all. Anyway, really, really weird stuff. Allen Ginsberg, right? You guys know who Allen Ginsberg is? That's like one of the main people for the whole MK Ultra thing, right? The whole 60s psyop and everything, right? They got everyone to just peace, love, and drugs. And while they went in and took over the government and took over, you know, took over everything. So everyone was just out there, you know, getting high, and they didn't realize that the coup was happening. Tibet House works with Michael Lerner, who's literally like, he was high up in the Weather Underground. Like, if you don't know what the Weather Underground is, you should know, right? They were a radical leftist group, literally bombing people, killing people, right? And so literally Hillary Clinton included his book in her like dissertation, like her political social philosophy. Lots of weird stuff going on. So anyway, there's a lot going on, and if we're not aware of it, we're just going to be subject to it. So I think that was what I was bringing. Oh, the Bronfmans. That's how we got off on that. Yeah. Let's see. So we'll go back to. All right. Also, let's see. Check the chat. Any questions? I Am Your Boogeyman says Wikipedia says 60 Mexican candidates were killed. I wonder if that was just in 2025, because it's really a lot. Anyway, really good to see all you guys. So let's see. What else are we looking at? Can't remember what I didn't cover. Let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot I put it over here. Oh, going to the comments. So I was talking to Plur today, and he sent me some Plur DD. So he says, one, that Carl Icahn owns 91 or 90.5%. So of IEP right now, it's super illiquid. So my thesis was about IEP was that the catalyst we're waiting for that is for the Venezuelan oil company, Citgo, for IEP to get a chunk of that, which one of their biggest one of IEP's, or their biggest holding of IEP is CVR Energy, and they're in bids for those oil assets. And so I think that's like the thing that shorts are never going to forget is he's like, oh, by the way, like I have a chunk of the biggest oil company in the world, and so suck it, right? That's probably what his thing's going to be. But today, when Plur sent me this, he says that on his holdings, and I could verify, I could pull it up if you want, but one of his holdings is CCI Onshore Corp, and apparently they hold shares of Blockbuster, right? And that's something is like, why? So I mean, I had all these like thoughts about what Teddy was going to be like literally like 2 years ago, and I was like, okay, well, the X app is going to have X store. It's going to have like X movies, which are probably going to be Blockbuster, right? And, X payments, and none of that, right? Blockbuster launched their streaming service. I haven't necessarily followed up because I'm not invested in Blockbuster. But, yeah, they launched their streaming service, and like, who knows I don't know. Like, it's not on X, right? X still doesn't really, I mean, no offense, Elon, but like doesn't really even have very much of like a video feature, right? You can't like search videos very easily. You can't even like rewind videos, which is super annoying. So, and you can't, anyway, like, so, or you can't like rewind certain, like, I don't know, for some reason there's like two different, like they're like a live video. Yeah. So anyway, I just been, Elon Musk said that the X payments was going to be here and X store was going to be here like at the end of 2023, right? So we're way past due on that, and I think that Blockbuster will be part of that. I have no idea whether the shares are going to be part of that, but I mean, it seems like it. Also, I sent this. Dan Scavino said there was a Bubbles and Butterflies gala in Florida, so that's cool. Oh yeah, Rite Aid, right? So yeah, actually I forgot someone in the chat also did mention about Rite Aid. So yeah, they easily could just give warrants and cash to old shareholders of Rite Aid. I think that because they are in the same position, right? Like what happened to Rite Aid? Well, they were locked up in lawfare, right? They were sued for a ton of money, which kind of crippled them. And it's just the same kind of formula is like you start shorting a company and then you literally attack it. I mean, GameStop was locked up in lawfare. So I think that the same kind of RICO case is going to have MMTLP, Rite Aid, GameStop, AMC, you name it. It's all going to be in there, DJT. And how it's going to be divvied up, I'm not really sure. I think that each one is just going after different parts of the crime, like who specifically did it. And each one would lead to a different big financial institution. In our case, I think it was, for sure JP Morgan, but probably also Goldman Sachs that's going to be paying out. I think more Goldman Sachs now that they have, Goldman Sachs has like $4 billion worth of Bed Bath & Beyond bonds that are marked as mortgage-backed securities. So I think that was part of their agreement, maybe, is that they had to back all the debts with that. So yeah, I think that each one's gonna be different. I haven't been following Rite Aid as closely, just because all the lawyers were the same, like everything was the same about it. So it's just, I just know that it's gonna probably get its payout the same time as Bed Bath and Beyond does, and that's gonna be cool because I have some Rite Aid shares. So what else? Any other questions? Got 34 homies in here on YouTube. I don't know how many are on X, but let's see. Yeah, no, this week should be good. Maybe that's what I should talk about. Oh yeah, I guess my where is my schedule, right? Okay, so Thursday was messed up by the whole market went down, plus it's XRT, which I only put one hot star because that one hasn't been as consistent lately ever since they went on Reg Show. But that is a lot of fails to deliver there, right? So there normally is a bump. These IWM fails are more likely, but there's $100 million worth of those fails to deliver that come due, right? So that's cool. It's really cool. So then you have the OCCs, they're changing the margin requirements. And I think that it's kind of like, I don't know, like you have to like box the shorts in. And first they said, okay, now you can't use crypto because like there's tokenized shares for, anyway, you could create whatever token. You could create whatever token you want, sell like 2 tokens for a huge amount of money, and then just not sell any of the rest, put it on your balance sheet, and you're like, yeah, I have $1 billion, right? And it's just like literally the most illiquid thing ever, right? You created a token and you sold 2 tokens for $1 each or $10 each, and you're like, oh, well, I have 1 billion of these tokens, right? So I have all this margin. And so earlier, before the first run up last year, I think it was, they changed the requirements. They said, okay, you can't use as margin, you can't use crypto, and you can't use junk bonds, right? And now they're changing it to where they say you can't use you can't use IPO companies. So say that someone has like a non-traded company, right? Even something like, I guess SpaceX or something, right? Or OpenAI, right? If they have shares of that, which have a value, but they're like, you can't use that as margin, right? Because they can just use whatever as margin they want, right? Wait, Tom, you're saying where'd I go? Am I still here? Can everyone hear me? Just making sure. Yeah, so it's just clamping down on the margin requirements, and I think there's different tiers of people. Like there's the regular retail investors that are shorts, and they can get automatically, margin called like first. And so we'll see different waves in, as far as like, some people will have to get called first. And it's like, you have a huge position. Like, how are we going to unwind this? Right. Just like I saw like a video of Martin Shkreli talking to JP Morgan on the phone when he was getting margin called, which was pretty funny actually. But yeah, so there'll be different waves of, there's like the small fish get automatically margin called. The big fish will get calls as soon as the small fish get margin called. And then the really big fish, Soros and Obama's hedge fund, Loop Capital, like they're going to be last. And so it'll be 3 levels of squeezes, and how that happens, who knows? Pablo Escobar says, let's see. Sundown October 2nd, Thursday is approximately 7:17, and the ending to Yom Kippur, which would make time for an announcement 7:41. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that kind of reminds me. Sorry to skip around, but I don't know that we all have to put it all into this squeeze, right? I think we could get an announcement anytime with a Bed Bath. I'm not holding my breath because I'm just not holding my breath. I mean, Pulte liked my tweet and PP's tweet about Teddy making Thanksgiving great again. So I don't know. I mean, Thanksgiving timeline sounds fine to me. But easily, that was also something Pulte said, is he says GameStop is an infinite money generating machine, right? So basically, GameStop could, it could run this week. I mean, I really think it's going to run hard. Say it runs to whatever, 40, 50, 100, 120. They could raise money in any way they want, right? They could just do, I mean, if it goes to over 100, I feel like an ATM would be the best thing, just because they could sell shares at a super high value. But say however they raise money, whether they do an ATM or they do another bond, then they can, so I mean, it could go down, right? So we could go up for several days, could get over 100, who knows? Maybe he does an ATM or something, and then and then we, right before Thanksgiving or whatever, we get paid for Bye Bye Baby, and then it goes up again, right? And then maybe he does another, and then he does another cash raise, and then maybe he does another set of warrants, right? So he could just keep raising money each way up. And something about GameStop is the floor was, it was $10, right? And then after the first dilution, it went down to 14. And then after the second dilution, it went down to 18. And then after the third dilution, it went down to 20 or 19-ish. And then 20, 21, and then 22, right? So each time the floor got lifted. And so they could just keep having the floor lift and just raise literally, I think if he does this right, I mean, he could raise $50 billion in the next year. In 1 year, he could raise $50 billion more dollars than he already has, which would be cool, right? So we should know how this process works at this point, because we've, most of us have learned the hard way. But so that's why I'm not necessarily just really hoping that we get our Bed Bath money before this run up. It's just he can just keep running it up as much as he wants. So that's just my thoughts. But I that would be great. That would be great if we did get money to be able to get these warrants. But I think people are fixated on the warrant as far as owning it. The best part of the warrant is the shorts having to buy it. I don't care about owning it myself. I don't care about anyone else owning it. I just want the shorts to have to buy it. And especially the shorts that have been hidden. That's who the most important person that I want to have to buy that warrant. And so, this is going to lead to the true discovery of the short interest, right? Because when this happens, they could say they could find out holy crap, there's 500% short interest, which that'd be great. So yeah, that's happening this week. So we got Monday. So I should update this to say now we have the price target for Wedbush got removed. So that's a huge catalyst. We might be getting, that means we'll probably get a new price target from someone, I'm assuming, at some point, because they have to have some price target. And hopefully it's accurate. Hopefully they're oh yeah, it's just worth $100, right? That'd be great. So that's Monday is the new OCC requirements for margin and hopefully a new price target. And then you have the IWM fails, which also should be a decent boost. Also for AMC, that should be a decent boost. I don't bank a lot on AMC. I definitely don't go far out of the money. I do have some $3 calls though, because they were like 6 cents each. And I don't know. And then this is the big day is Thursday. So that's when the last day to buy the dividend. And I put a lot of flames on that, right? How do I play options for beginners? Okay. Well, I'll use this chart, right? So actually this chart completely explains like my options thesis, right? So I have catalysts I'm looking at. So I wouldn't go big on something that's like a small flame, right? It's like, okay, I'm not going to like YOLO everything on this being the case. But depending on certain circumstances, if it's already low, it could lead to a pop, right? So you have to have a catalyst and then a reasonable, what's that catalyst going to do, right? So I got mega burned, but I don't think I played it wrong. It's kind of like poker when you make the right play, but you still just lose, right? Like, I mean, I went to Vegas with my friend and like I had a full house, right? And someone had a fuller house. Okay. Like how the crap was I supposed to guess that someone would have a fuller house that, you know, I had like jacks and then he had aces and it was like, okay, wow, that sucks, you know? So anyway, so I played this one right, but there was a crime, right? And so my whole thesis was that the 35-day settlement cycle would play out here and, you know, have this downtrend, this uptrend right here. I don't know. I like mapped it all out. I'm like, somewhere in here is going to be the catalyst and it's going to go up and test this this long-term downtrend, right? Which would have been, I think, like $31 or something would have been hitting this trend line. And because there's like a huge call option wall at 30, I was like, okay, I'm always going to expect that it's going to bounce off 30. So therefore I wouldn't do any strike higher than 29 if I think just because 30 might be a call wall, right? And I realize people play some volatility plays with some way out of the money. That's fine, teach their own. I personally think that's not the best, but so if it's going to go to, if I think it's going to go to 30 here, and it's like, okay, well, I'll give myself an extra week or two, and I'll get something where really conservatively, so it was like down, what was this, $22, right? So it's $22. So I got $23 strike price because I'm like, well, if it hits this downward trend, if it just got back to here, which was like $24, if I got the $23 ones at the time, they were pretty cheap. So I was like, okay, I'll get 23 for at least out to here. And sadly, you know, the crime happened there and it didn't go retest even that line. So if it would have retested this one, I would have made a lot of money, like a way lot of money. Totally didn't. I should have actually at that time. Actually, I won't give that secret away. I realized something else, but you know, anyway. So with option, so it's like with my theory right now, it's like, okay, well, what do I think? Like, well, I think that each time that the RSI crosses the midline on the weekly chart, GameStop has reliably gone to about $34 or $35. So again, I would not want to do, I would not want to assume that it's going to get past 30, right? So the highest I would get is 29s. And you can scatter them. You can stagger them, get like 29s, 28s, 27s. That's actually kind of what I usually do. I kind of look at each one to see what the relative value is. Depends on the implied volatility and whatnot. So just to be safe, let's say I get 27s for the 17th, right? October 17th. I guess you can also look where the downtrend might like end, which maybe it's a little bit later than that. So you might want to get like some for later and some for shorter. The shorter one would probably be October 17th. And I'm aiming at these catalysts, right? So theoretically, you can throw a little bit of money just at like a weekly, right? It's not a bad, not a terrible idea. I mean, if we do get to Wednesday and it hasn't run yet, I wouldn't throw a lot, but you could get some like some 27s or I mean, actually, if we get to Wednesday and it hasn't run, just get like a couple of 29s. They'll probably be like 10 cents each. You know, just it's worth $100. Not financial advice, but yeah, if Wednesday doesn't run by then, definitely that would be because I just do think that Thursday is going to be the biggest run, and yeah, so that's the day I'm looking forward to. I hope my hope is that Monday and Tuesday just runs it up, because the higher it gets, the more the shorts are going to have to pay for these warrants, and so more pressure they would put on them. Because if we, I don't know when the brokers will start checking their margin requirements and be like, oh, do you actually have what you need? So I'm not assuming that the pressure is going to be on, but I mean, hopefully these two catalysts are enough to get it above 30. It'd be great if this hits 30, 34, 36 or whatever by here. I still would take profits, like quite a bit of profits, but but knowing it will likely keep squeezing Wednesday, and then the big one would be on Thursday. Then there might be like a pullback. So you take some profits, wait for it to potentially pull back, and then jump back in. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Any other questions? Let's see. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll just cancel the screen. But yeah, I love you guys. I hope you guys are having a good Sunday. As far as a spiritual message, if you didn't watch my long video on my last Bible study, the main point of that is that I think people get caught up in traditions and just weird philosophical nuances about each different Christian denomination and whatnot. But really, if you're reading the Bible or any type of spiritual practice, I think it should go directly back. Like, it should tie straight in to helping you understand virtue more, right? That, virtues, things that are always good, right? It doesn't mean they're always the right answer, because you have to balance things like patience and courage, charity, humility, and diligence, right? Like, there's all these things that they're all good things, and then it's a matter of being capable of doing all of them, and then able to, the Holy Spirit will help you use the right tool in the right time. And yeah, that it's interesting that what parts people focus on. I don't think Christianity is about an identity, I wear a jersey that's the Christian jersey or whatever. So I just think that Christ was a good example of, blessing everyone he could as much as he could by, actually feeding people, actually teaching people valuable things, right? So, his example should inspire people. Totally fine if most people's interpretation of the Bible and Christianity doesn't inspire people, and it's sad. But I think anyone who really takes the time to learn about the life of Christ is typically inspired by it to be a better person. Something that's interesting is they've always had a sun god, the myth of the sun god. And the thing about the sun is the sun just always comes up and always shares its light, and you can't really like pay it back, right? And that's something that Jesus says. He says, we love God because he loved us first. And, the sun just loves us with its rays of light that, help plants grow, that helps bring warmth to our world, right? So all these things, the same, I feel like the virtues have been virtues ever since, and people have had different ways of describing aspects of them. But just like Kelly said, just be a better person, right? Like it's not, I don't know. I don't think, if you don't get dunked in the water the way that someone says you need to get dunked in the water, doesn't mean you're going to go burn in some fiery lake for the rest of eternity. Like that's, I don't want to say retarded, but yeah. And and thanks for all stepping by. It's fun to see all the different names in the chat: Kelly, Tammy, Jimmy, Ape, George, Pablo Escobar, probably not the real Pablo Escobar, Tomcat, the leg guy. Yeah, I've been good. Gonna be a lot better this Mamba. Do I have a date? A date for Bed Bath. I'm assuming that's what you mean. I really do think we're going to run hard this week for GameStop. I just, I don't know. I'm like looking at all the things that come together, and it sounds crazy, but I really think that the Russia-Ukraine problem has to be stopped for Bed Bath. I just do. I think that could happen any day. But I just really think so, because like, what haven't we seen? We haven't. So there's all these things that we were promised at certain timelines, and Trump has said multiple times, he's like, I thought this Russia thing was going to be really easy, but it's not, because for a lot of reasons. It's a lot easier to throw a wrench in things than to make them go forward, right? Because like, if Trump's trying to stop the Ukraine thing, but then Europe's like, well, do you want a favorable tariff deal? And they could be like, well, we want to continue the war with Russia. And it's like, okay, fine. I'm not going to pay for it, but if you guys want to keep paying for it. And then they just keep like throwing tons of money at it. And then Putin's like, what the crap? They're still like throwing tons of money at this war and people are dying. And Trump's like, yeah, I know, but like, anyway, I'm not really sure what things are hinging on, but and the tariff thing, like it blows my mind that people don't understand why we have the tariffs. We have the tariffs because right now is a once in a forever chance to become the leaders in automated manufacturing, right? Like whoever wins this just wins permanently, right? Like they will be the new top empire for the next 100 to 200 years, right? Whoever wins the automated factory race, right? So what Trump's saying is like, hey, let's stop feeding all these other countries all this extra money by letting them, because like China's been losing money, like you could say, like by undercut, they're devaluing their own currency, and they're exploiting their own workers just so that they can get to this point first. And they're right there, but it's going to take a lot of capital. And so it's like the perfect time to make sure that they don't. So it's like, okay, well, now you have to pay a bunch of tariffs, and that money is going to come in. We're going to use that money to build the infrastructure to do all the automated things. Because if you have like automated chips and all that stuff, right? So the money has to come in because the upfront costs to all those factories is going to be huge, and you're not going to have any. The payout's going to take a while because you have to finish the factories. I mean, even like I was like on the plane or whatever, some guy that like makes like bottling company stuff or what, like their factory stuff, right? And that's like really simple, and it's not completely automated, right? So it's like when you say like, oh, a completely automated like factory, you know, that's gonna be hard, right? But we're right there, so we have to do it, because otherwise, what do we even have to offer, right? So that's why the tariffs are necessary, and but like part of that is like, so when those tariffs start, well, those people, so you have money coming in where the government can invest, you know, grants and whatnot and help people, but also companies should be investing themselves as well. And for them to invest in themselves, they need lower interest rates, right? And so that's why Trump's saying we need the tariffs and the lower interest rates right now at the same time, is so that basically we force the hands of all these American companies to say, hey, build new cool factories in the United States. And they're like, okay, I'll do it when the rates come down. Because like, I mean, that extra 1% interest, over the lifetime of the money that they'll pull in, I mean, that's a lot of money, right? I mean, some profit margins are pretty slim. And so to add on an extra 1%, 2% that's compounding per year, like that's pretty brutal. And so they really need the rates to be down for this whole process to work. So anyway, I think that the tariff thing with Europe and whatnot, like that was kind of more important than getting that to be set up than the Russia thing. But I think the Russian thing has to be dealt with as well. And so, because they have a sovereign wealth fund, right? So Trump said in 90 days, we're going to launch a sovereign wealth fund. Well, that was 90 days ended like in July, right? Which it's not July anymore. And we don't have a sovereign wealth fund yet. So this all happens together. I think that Russia is a big part of this, but also, all the arrests that happened, James Comey, all that stuff, that all has to go through, and it is. So we will see sovereign wealth fund, we will see X store, we will see X payments, we will see a lot of these things we've been waiting for. That just, I mean, they're just waiting. They're waiting to happen, and all of a sudden it's just going to be rolled out, just kind of like all in one, and it's going to be incredibly exciting. And we're going to be like, yeah, we saw this coming. So a few more comments. I just realized, okay, the Greg tweet was interesting. I've never seen the Buck picture before. Oh yeah, there's. Thanks, Tyler. Let's see. Oh, new target price. Okay. Wait, what was it that had the? Oh, Buck the Bunny. Oh, interesting. Okay. Thanks, Dusty. Yeah, 2K views. That's, it's not actually live viewers on X, sadly. It's just people that like watched more than like 5 seconds of it, or like maybe even they've switched off on the volume or whatever. I don't know how many active people are watching, but on a Sunday night, I wonder if hedge funds have their lights on yet. Probably. I mean, obviously, if Wedbush is changing their, people will start scrambling because the algos are going to respond to that. I don't know I don't know if there's like some program where they officially give their price targets, like put it into like a specific sort of system where the algos can see. I'm not really sure. Yeah. Just to thank a few more people for being here. Let's see. I'm your boogeyman. Roger, HBL. Ape Frog, Michael Dix, Ron Johnson, Bo Gentry, Lancer. Yeah, you guys are all awesome. Fosse, Mountain Q, Pang, Llama Labs. Yeah, these are all OG, Star Killer, D. Yeah, you ask about a stretch PP coin. Not really sure. I was excited for. I thought that, I mean, the chart was kind of suggesting there might be a breakout, but I also kind of realized like the amount of holders would have to go up. It's been kind of set at a specific number of holders, like 1,600 or so since its inception. So there's got to be something that, like, some catalyst, right, that would make the number of holders go up. Because we're kind of a smaller community. So, well, not like small, we're a pretty big community, right? But like, it's a niche thing, right? So, I don't know. I was expecting definitely a pop on it for, I may or may not have sold my PP coins that I had after I got the NFT and then put it into GME options. Don't tell PP. But yeah. Yeah, Tammy, we did talk about GME and Bed Bath announcing warrants at the same time. I mean, once those are in the machine, like in the system, as far as like Bed Bath warrants, they could easily just offer those warrants to us, because it's like, it is, I mean, they're going to raise capital from it, right? So yeah, I don't know. I definitely think they could. Treyo, thanks for so anyway, I love you guys. You guys are all awesome, and I hope we all have a really good week. And yeah, yeah, love you all, and I'll catch you all.